we've got a blast from the past today. We're joined by Chuck Martini, the former Kings Lynn Town goalkeeper, who has kindly come on to speak to us about his experience with the Linnets and also talk to us a little bit about Morocco's incredible success at the World Cup. So, hello, Chuck. It's been a long time, but it's very good to speak to you again.
Hello, Greg. Hope all is well over there in Blighty. I know it's pretty cold over there. Always a pleasure to do my old stomping ground a favour, and I would love to. I would love to see them back up in the National League. I do keep in touch with their results, and would love to see them back in the National League.
Yeah, well, we're working on it very hard. We've got a very good team and a fantastic manager and coaching staff, so that we are working on it hard. So let's just go back to your football days, your early career. Let's start off with your early career, Chuck. Tell us a little bit about the background of your career, how it started, how you came to play football, where you started, and so forth, and then we'll move on to your time with obviously Kings Lynn.
Okay, obviously, many moons ago, I was born in Morocco, but my parents migrated to the UK, and I came over when I was about 3 years old. And then from there, I obviously went to school in the UK, played for my school team, and played for the county. I also represented England schools at schoolboy level. I was then scouted by Tottenham. I served almost 3.5 years at Tottenham as an apprentice. And then I signed my professional contract at Wimbledon. The Crazy Gang, if you guys remember. John Fashanu, Dennis Wise, and all of those guys. So had good breeding, I guess, from that kind of school. I think that's where my craziness when I was at the Linnets comes from. But it stood me in good stead, to be fair, being at that club, because it was two contrasts from being at Tottenham, a total cultured and professional outfit, to Wimbledon, who we done things a lot differently under my old manager Bobby Gould. He was a very a charming man, I would say, charming man, but did things differently. At the time, my manager then obviously was David Kemp, who was my biggest admirer, I would imagine. I think he was the one that kept me going. There was a few times that I didn't want to keep playing football. I was born. I lived in Shepherd's Bush, and there was a few dodgy days of mine, I should say. But he kept me on the straight and narrow. And thanks to him, to be fair, I continued. I played professional football at Wimbledon, and then from there, another one of my, I would say, heroes and someone that I've looked up to, my mentor, Martin O'Neill, took me on at Wycombe Wanderers. I went on loan to Wycombe for the first season. They were playing in the conference at the time, the Vauxhall Conference. I played for them the first season, and then he duly signed me for the following season on a 2-year contract. So I went to Wycombe. I served 6 years there under Martin O'Neill, and fantastic years because we saw so much success going through the leagues. We went from the conference all the way into League Two in consecutive seasons. So for me, I learned a lot from him, to be quite honest. He's a fantastic man manager, fantastic coach. I wouldn't say fantastic tactician, but he was a motivator, and got you feeling, really wanting to play for him. And obviously with the success we had at Wycombe, we'd won the FA Trophy when we were still in the conference in 2 years in a row. And then obviously winning the Vauxhall Conference, going into the third division, and then in our first season in the league, going up again one level as well, second division. And then in the second division, we almost got into the first division the following season. And I think at that time, Martin O'Neill's stock was very high. Clubs like Nottingham Forest and came calling, but he went to Norwich, obviously neighbours of Kings Lynn. I think he only stayed there for a little while. I think he was promised some money. He when he left Norwich, I think he left them at the top of the league, but it was due to the fact that the chairman didn't keep his promise in terms of giving him the money to spend on the squad. Long and behold, I'll cut a long story short, he went to Leicester. I left Wickham and went to the United States at the time, and I played in Dallas. I played in the MLS in Dallas, and I played there for 3 seasons. And out of coincidence, Leicester City were out on tour in the US during their pre-season break, and I played against them. And obviously, being reunited with Martin O'Neill, he gave me the option to come back after our season, because the MLS season finishes around September, October times. So I kept his word. He kept his word. I rang him up when I finished the season, and I came back and signed for Leicester. And then 3 years at Leicester City, I then came to Kings Lynn. I think I came on loan at the beginning to Kings Lynn from Leicester City, with the connection of Gary Mills and Martin O'Neill being ex-mates at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I think you said to me yesterday you were third. Was it third choice at goalkeeper at Leicester?
I was third choice at Leicester City. Yeah, it was Casey Keller, Peggy Alfaxad, and then it was me.
Okay, and am I right in thinking that Martin O'Neill wanted you to do him a favour with, the Gary Mills, with his connection with Gary Mills, obviously looking for a goalkeeper at the time?
Yes, I think I done him a favour. I was used quite a lot, to be quite honest. I mean, I think I played for Notts County under Sam Allardyce for a while. I went on loan there, and then I went on loan to a few other places. And then at the time, I was sitting playing in reserve football, and at that time, I really didn't want to be playing reserve football. Gained nothing out of it, and the call came to go to Gary Mills and do him a favour for a while, and I totally enjoyed my time at Kings Lynn. And for me, it was getting a regular game, although I was training full time at Leicester City. To come and play a regular match or 2 matches every week was doing me all the world of good.
When you first heard of Kings Lynn's interest in in bringing you to the club, did you know much about them?
No, in all honesty, I have to say I didn't, because it was the first time I was going to venture down to non-league football. At that particular time, obviously, when I first joined Wickham, they were in the Conference Premier, and they were full time at the time. So for me, it was the first time that I was delving into non-league football. But I had an idea what it was all about. I had an idea what to expect. And in all honesty, I totally relished the opportunity and the chance to play. I think we had a great side as well. I think we had a good team at Kings Lynn, and we went on a massive run. Obviously, my clean sheet record is still there intact, I believe. And I totally enjoyed my time. There was a few characters in that dressing room. I still remember Spiro, who eventually took over as manager as well from Gary Mills. So my time with Kings Lynn will always be a part of me, and I definitely, when I got the call from you, obviously I couldn't turn it down. It's good. It's good living down memory lane.
Let's. You're probably not going to appreciate me doing this, but we'll go back to your debut. Not sure if you can remember it. It was an FA Cup tie at the Walks against West Auckland Town.
And I think I had a nightmare.
I think
I had a nightmare.
We lost the game 1-0, and it was your debut. Obviously, I imagine there must have been a lot of pressure on your shoulders. How did you feel going into that game?
Well, in all honesty, I think I was looking forward to playing for the club, and it was just different coming in because you didn't know anyone, you didn't know the players, and I didn't train with the club at that time. I think I got the phone call on a Tuesday, and I rushed over to sign the forms, I think Wednesday or Thursday night. I know the lads were training, but sometimes Gary used to train at different parts of, I don't think he actually trained at the Lynn. They trained somewhere towards Nottingham. And I only went and signed the forms. And I believe on the Saturday, I hardly knew the back four. I didn't know the players in midfield. I didn't know anybody from the team. And it was just obviously trying to do my job as best as I can. I can't remember much about it. I don't know whether I was at fault for the goal. I'm hoping I wasn't. But let's pray and hope that I didn't make that mistake.
I mean, at the end of the day, what happened after the cup tie was pretty incredible, because the team, when you first arrived, the team was struggling towards the bottom of the table and obviously worked their way up the table, and that coincided with your clean sheet record. 11 hours, 45 minutes without conceding a goal.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I think we equaled David Seaman's record at Arsenal. And I think we were, I was chuffed to bits, because I remember going into it when we finally conceded the goal. It took us from virtually bottom of the league, right up there to almost challenging for the playoffs.
And I think in that run it included a victory over Boston at home as well. Obviously Boston are big rivals, aren't they, of Kings Lynn? So
correct. I remember that. And no, I totally enjoyed my time there. I think it was a great club. The fans were really nice. The fans were really good to me. I think they enjoyed my charismatic approach to goalkeeping. I think I gave them a few heart attacks coming out with my feet and trying to take on centre forwards and trying to set up play from the. But no, I totally enjoyed my time there, and the clean sheet record is still there to be had, and I think it was a mean defence that I had in front of me, and to be quite honest, to go that long without conceding a goal, it's fantastic, and I think it still stands at the moment. So I'm really proud of it.
I think it would be fair to say you like to take a gamble. You wasn't frightened to take a gamble with your attitude to playing, but when you look at the game today, goalkeepers playing with the feet and being able to come out with the ball and distribute the ball is a big part of the game, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And Greg, you've touched on something that obviously, as I was growing up, that it wasn't the case. But then they brought in the back pass rule, which you couldn't pick up, and it really suited me to the ground, because I used to always, I used to do Martin O'Neill's heading, because half of the time I didn't want to go in goal. I wanted to go and play up front and score goals and be in midfield and play in all different types of positions. But it helped me. It helped me, the fact that I can actually use my feet. And, you look at today's game now and how it's moved, goalkeepers are now sweepers. The old word of using a sweeper, they've got to be able to come out and play and pass and keep possession of the ball. And, for me, I was glad that I was able to do that. And although, sometimes I was a little bit too eccentric and wanted to go too far with it, but I would say it's a big plus now. I think a lot of goalkeepers now, if they're going to get big moves into the Premier League or whatever, part of it is playing with their feet and their distribution. It's massive. It's massively important, as well as being able to catch the thing.
And obviously, after you spent, I think it was just over 2 years with Lynn. So after your 2 years at Lynn, I know you had a few spells at various non-league clubs, and then you obviously turned your hand to management, didn't you?
Yes, I think at that time, once I finished with Lynn, I think I moved over and I played for Sutton. I played for Sutton in the conference at the time, and then I'd done my knee in. Well, it was a reoccurrence of when I've had a knee injury before when I was at Wycombe, but I've redone it again playing for Sutton. So once I'd done that, I started to think beyond my playing days. So a job came about, Godalming Town, and I took it on. They were struggling, bottom of the league. I managed to keep them up in my first season in charge. The second season, we've had the best ever FA Cup run that they had, the best ever FA Trophy run, and we just missed out on promotion. The second season was our best season. We won the Surrey Senior Cup, beating Wimbledon and beating the likes of Sutton United in the final. And we also got into the playoff final, where I believe we were robbed that day. Some poor decisions by the referee. We ended up losing to Folkestone 1-0, and Folkestone won it and went on to the Premier League. We stayed. The club was fantastic. It was a great place for me to learn my trade. I never had the biggest budget, and because of the results and that I managed to get as the manager of Godalming, Walton and Hersham came calling. And obviously Walton and Hersham is a big non-league club, and it was hard for me to turn down the offer to go there. Again, they were in disarray. They were sitting second bottom by the time I took over. I actually swapped my team that was sitting top of the league for Walton that was sitting almost second bottom of the league. Glad to say, once the season, right at the end of the season, we just narrowly missed out on the playoffs, me taking Walton from bottom of the league to almost the playoffs in my first season in charge. It's still one of my biggest achievements as a manager. Especially, as I said, I took over mid-November or late November, I think, in the season. So with a lot to do, with a lot to catch up. And I stayed there 3 years. No, totally enjoyed my time management. Obviously I have a long career in the sense that playing for different managers, playing different styles of football. I played in America under South American coaches, so learned a little bit of the South American methods. And then also under Martin O'Neill, who I would say is probably my greatest mentor, and had a lot of success under Martin as well, as a player, and obviously the management or the managing style that he had rubbed off on me. And for me, it was great to have been able to be taught by such great coaches. One also sticks to mind was, as I said, the South American Jorge Espinosa, who played for Chile, and his methods were fantastic and totally different. So it kind of built my repertoire of coaching styles and coaching methods, and it set me in good stead. I was managing in the UK for 7 years before I had the call to come out to a place called Oman in the Gulf, and to start up an academy here. And in all honesty, it was, I'll kid you not, I took it for the money. The money was great, but I only thought that I'll be here for a year and I would go back. 9 years down the line, I'm still living in the Gulf. My family are very well settled here, and they love lifestyle in the Gulf. So it's been a great move for the family, although I do miss my cold nights at the walks.
What other memories do you have of the walks? Was there a particular game? I mean, one that sticks out for me, and you'll probably remember it as soon as I mention it. Boxing Day at Boston United, Robbo from the halfway line.
Oh yes, definitely. Fantastic game, to be quite honest. The one that sticks to mind for me was when we played Burton, and remember Nigel Clough was managing Burton at the time. We played them there and we won. I think it was a midweek game. It was quite cold, and we needed. Burton were top of the league at the time, and we're trying to get into that top four. I don't know. I think everything hit me that day. I made so many saves that game, and I think Gary Mills. I think after the game, Gary Mills was saying to all the lads, that I should be starting for Leicester the following week, not should be starting for Kings Lynn. But no, it was a great time for me at Kings Lynn. It kept my mind focused on playing matches. It was the worst thing to happen to a professional footballer is to be in a club training every week, but not playing on the Saturday.
So just moving back, we'll just briefly touch on your international career before talking about Morocco's exploits in the World Cup. Just tell us a little bit about what it was like to play for your country and who your debut was against. How did that feel?
An absolute honour. Obviously, everybody wants to play for their national team. As a kid, you grow up watching the World Cups and watching the professionals and the international teams playing. Obviously, there's no greater honour than playing for your national team. And I was lucky to have been, or I was fortunate to have been picked, being one of, I think, only the two international players. What I mean by international players that played abroad. I think the success of the national team at the moment has come from people like myself who actually lived in the UK and was given the opportunity to play professional football within the European leagues. We see now the Moroccan squad is filled with Champions League, Europa League players, and hence the reason why they're doing so well in the World Cup. It's not a surprise. I actually said in my show in Al Jazeera that, I'm not surprised how well Morocco have done. I tipped them to go out of the group. I tipped them to qualify from the group because we've got players that are playing and rubbing shoulders with the best week in, week out. And they're all professionals in their own right. They're all Champions League players. They're all Europa League players. So why not have the dream of winning the World Cup? Because we do possess a good team and a good squad. I think even, we've had a few injuries the last game in the quarterfinal, and we've seen two players step in and make their debuts for the country, but they didn't put a foot out of place. And I think at this present moment in time, I think we are fighting. The spirit, the passion is there. The support, most of all, the stadium is absolutely packed, jammed full with Moroccan supporters. Obviously, the fact that it helps us that Qatar is hosting the World Cup, an Arab Islamic country, and they've just basically adopted Morocco. The whole of the Arab world and the Islamic world have adopted Morocco as their own, and it's just been fantastic to see them go from strength to strength. Touching back on my days, obviously, with the national team, it was totally different because most of the players were from Morocco themselves. They were playing in the Moroccan First Division. I also have to say that the Moroccan First Division now has become, Moroccan football in general has become professional football. There's been a lot of investments into the infrastructure of the Moroccan game. We have 3 professional divisions now, whereas in my time it was very much part-time. It was a semi-professional league. So a lot of the players that were playing with me in the team were from semi-professional backgrounds. We did have 1 or 2, I would say, that came from the professional leagues, but not like it is now. Now the whole squad, and there's a vast array of talent throughout Europe and in England from the Moroccans to choose from. So it's helped the Moroccan national team right now for sure.
Just one final question from me. What has the run meant to Morocco and both the African and Arab world as a whole? What has it done, would you say?
Well, for a fact, it's caused hysteria at the moment. It's united the Arab world. We're seeing people in Jordan, in Syria, in Saudi Arabia, in Tunisia, in Algeria, in all Africa wearing Moroccan tops. It's basically united the whole of African and Arab football. This is a true success to Arab and African football. I believe Pele did state that by the year 2000 there'll be an African team that will win the World Cup. Obviously, he's 22 years off the mark, but I do believe, and we dare the dream. I think we dare dream. We've played against Croatia and drew 0-0 against a team that finished finalists in the last World Cup. We've beaten Belgium, who is the number 2 ranked team in the world, quite comfortably. We've beaten Canada. We've beaten Spain, who is also fancied for the World Cup this year. We've also beaten Portugal, who are also European champions in their own right, with Cristiano Ronaldo part of the squad. And now we face France. I think it's going to be a different game against France, because I believe France have the weapons to hurt Morocco in terms of Griezmann, and obviously the standout is Mbappe. But Morocco has only conceded 1 goal. And, credit to Yassine Bono, who for me at the moment is definitely the goalkeeper of the tournament. Yassine Bono oozes confidence to all the back four. He's a very calm and collected character. He's made some great saves for the team. He's very, very good with his feet, similar to myself. And I'd like to say, I'd like to believe that he's probably taken that trait off of me.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us today, and obviously coming on to chat with us about your time, your career, your time with the Linnets. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of Kings Lynn fans out there, who will listen to this interview, and they'll be reliving some of the memories you created when you was at the club.
Look, I definitely would love to come back to the club. I think I will come and visit. It would be nice to see some old faces. Obviously, very nice to see your face right now. And for me, who knows? One day, maybe in a managerial capacity, to come and take over. I know that the current manager is doing very well, and I wish him all the best. I wish the Linnets all the best as well, and may it long continue. And let's see them get back into that National League. I believe they belong there.
Thank you very much for joining us today, Chuck.